and welcome to a brand new episode of Road Trip After Hours. I'm your host, MacDavis, along with my famous co-host, Mr. WWE Hall of Famer, Teddy Long. Hey, Teddy.
Hey, what's going on, Matthew?
That's not my real name. Jokes on
it's like
you.
somebody struck a nerve there.
I've been waiting to do that.
Well, Peanut Head, you've got a great guest with us today. You want to tell us about the special guest we have?
Hey, yeah, I do, man. We got a great guy here, man, that I started in the wrestling business way back when in the 81, 82, somewhere like that. But even before then, I had a chance to meet this gentleman here, man, and he did so much for me during my career, during my refereeing days and everything. I had a chance to ride with him. Also had a chance to talk to him, get a lot of knowledge. And then all of a sudden, after I got, made it in the business, me and him got back together, and we still stayed road buddies and rode together. Oh, golly, I got a good story I'm going to tell you about me and him one time we had, but it'll come later. But let me get him on here. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you right now, my man is the legendary NWA referee, WCW, WWE. Nick Patrick has certainly done it all. Ladies and gentlemen, I named him this Glico Beat. That's between
Glico Beat. I love it.
But here he is, Nick Patrick, y'all.
Hey, thank you guys for having me, man. It's been a long time. Today I hadn't seen you in a while, too, man. I say hello to you from Big Nick. I got Big Nick in the other room. He's checking out SpongeBob SquarePants. And Tony's out on the road. He's working doing NASCAR this week with his mama's out there working. Tony's out there doing the same thing.
Yeah, so you say hello to them for me, man. Those are Nick's two sons there, man, and I had a chance to watch them grow up too, man, and they turned out to be absolutely fantastic.
Man, first time I met you, Antoine was just a little boy, man. Little boy. That was a long time ago, man.
The first time that I met Nick's father, and for those of you who are not aware, you need to look this up in case you aren't. The Assassin was his father, and I got to meet your father, but I didn't know that I met your father until after I met your father, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah,
Chip Burnham was with WCW, and I had gone backstage, and your father was working Gorilla. And I guess that was a regular job of his, maybe at one point of time. And
yeah, he worked there for a long time.
And I saw this guy. I just saw this huge guy. I'm like, who is this guy? And I finally asked Chip, and Chip said, "You don't know who that is?" And I said, "No." And he told me, and that just blew me away because I'd seen him many times, but just didn't know I'd actually had met him.
Oh, wow. He used to mess with me from gorilla position too, because he could talk to you through our ear. We could hear him through the earpiece.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't overdo it, so it worked every single time he did it to me. I'd be working, I'd be in the middle of doing something. He'd say, "Nick, you're fly," and you'd see me every time go for it. And I'd look at it, just look up at the camera, like, "Oh, damn it, you got me."
Before we get into some of the great road stories here, I want to bring up some news that just happened today. Just get your responses on something that's all over social media today. And this comes from Jake Lures, who is a lead singer of a band called August Burns Red. I don't know the band, but this is what he writes. He talks about a record signing and this crazy woman who came up to him. He says, "Yeah, it was crazy, man. We were doing a signing, and this crazy lady comes up and gets me to sign an album for her. And she says, 'You don't recognize me, do you?' And I replied to her, 'Not really, should I?' In which she said, 'I'm Aubrey Edwards.'" I think that's what her name was. She goes off saying, "I'm a wrestling referee, maybe one of the most famous in the business. You haven't seen me before?" Yeah. And I said to her, "Sorry, I haven't watched WWE in years. If I'm being honest, I just don't know." "Well, I'm not in that garbage. I'm in AEW. You really need to check it out and see for yourself what we're doing over here." She actually got incensed, and as she walked away, he began to kind of chuckle a little bit about the whole situation. He turned around and said, "What are you laughing at?" Now, two questions. First of all, I kind of know where the first question is. As a referee, you two know this better than anybody else. Should you be a star in that ring?
It's not about being a star. It's about doing your job.
Yeah, if you become a star, if that just happens, it happens. But it's not what you set out to be. If you have that objective, then you're getting into the wrong part of it. Getting into the ref part is about helping the product and helping the people, the guys in the ring to be as smooth and as on point as they can be.
And Nick knows that, and Nick knows this, in there, everybody has to be on the same page. That it's teamwork. It's teamwork. There's sometimes that the referee is really helpful to the guys. And I'll give you a perfect example. One time I was refereeing in WWF, it was WWF then, and with the Dudleys, and Spike Dudley was in there. Well, Spike got lost. You know what I mean? He just forgot a spot to do. And I looked over at him. I said, hey, baseball slide. He's already out there. And Spike, we got back to the back. He thanked me for an hour. I'm like, okay, no problem. But you know what I mean? It helped him because he was lost. He needed a spot. But I learned.
And we're old school, and we learned how to think on the fly. So something just popped into your head because that's how you learn, And
you had to learn that way because they didn't play. Nick, back then they didn't play. You had to learn, and you better know exactly what you're doing in there too.
Yeah. But it helps when you get off the page to be able to wing it, So you just had a natural reaction, and it was the right thing to do. That's probably what somebody was screaming through the referee's ear from the gorilla position. Oh, tell him no. That's probably the same thing that you just told him. You just got it covered, kid.
I just happened to call it first.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, just because it was a natural reaction, man. When you can work, that's how it happens, man.
Nick, have you had a chance to watch the AEW product? And if so, what do you think about the officiating?
I haven't watched a whole lot of it, to be honest with you. My son Nick, I don't know if you guys know, but Nick Teddy knows because my son Nick is autistic, and I let him control the TV controls, man. And he watches 4 or 5 things at one time. We're flip, and I tried to get him to watch it because I truly wanted to check it out, and I watched a little of it, but further back, and. Because I thought he'd like it because it has some of the old WCW guys, with Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross and Sting and different people, and Chris Jericho. I thought, but Nick is just so into his thing, and be honest with you, I take care of Nick now, and I take care of my mom who's 85 and has dementia. And I don't really have a whole lot of time to sit and watch a whole wrestling show. And especially when I got my own company now, if I'm watching something, I'm watching what we've got going on and monitoring my own product. I do, you can't ignore what everybody else is doing because you don't want to go out and copy it or emulate it. You want to do your own thing. Yeah. But man, I just don't, that's why I got people helping me. I have a kid. I'm not doing all my booking. I got a young man that's doing it for me. He's doing a spectacular job. And his name is Eric Adams. And I'm really grateful to him because I'm at a stage in my life where right now I've got so much on my plate taking care of my own family that I just kind of oversee what's going. I said, you go to it, you come to me and let me know what's happening. Something's right. I'll pat you on the back. Something's wrong. We'll address it, change it, fix it, And he's a great storyteller, and he's able to, if this makes any sense to you, he's able to think in layers. It's not just what we're doing here. It's what we're doing here to get to here because going here, here, and here gets us to there, right. And he has the ability to look at other people and see what their strong points and their weak points are. And as booking, he had himself in there at first because we needed an experienced hand. But now that we've got enough people into the deal and he's just booking, he's got himself out of it, and all of his creativity is for other people. And it's rare to see a booker that has great ideas for everybody else and not just for themselves, especially at the indie level. Yeah. And that's I have him do it, man. He does everything. He helps me. He books. He lines up shows. And he helps. He runs the advanced class when I train people down at the old metal building on my parents' property. And you got to want it and come down there, man. It's hot.
And by the way, just so everybody knows what we're talking about here, Deep South Wrestling is what Nick is talking about. Yes, which is your promotion in Georgia, correct?
Yes, correct. It's a company my father and I started back in 1986 together, and it ended up morphing into the Power Plant, and Pop just kept the copyrights alive for it. And then he ran a couple of little shows after the Power Plant was bought out by Vince, but just a couple. And then he brought it back to life and called Deep South, because Pop ran one of the training facilities for Vince for a while. Yep. And he had used the Deep South name. So he kept it alive. And really one of the reasons why I'm doing it now is because we had all the equipment there. And during the pandemic hit, people was looking for a place to work out. And hell, even into the gym, I got gym equipment, not a lot. It's free weights, but that's when you're used to using the machines. Like, gee, I cannot work out on those free weights. I mean, come on, man, that's what we started on.
That's all we knew.
Yeah, but anyway, that's how it all got started, man. I had kids down there working out, and it got to where I had one day I had like about 8 kids in there working out, and it got kind of cold, so I had that door down. And everybody paired off because they were all kids that were already having matches. These weren't green kids that was looking, that was wanting to start from scratch. All these kids were already working and just wanting to get polished. And so they all paired off to have matches. It was like 4 different matches. But I had people lining up around the ring and give it up for them, while the people was in there working. And the energy level was so friggin' high in that building, I thought. And it was during the pandemic. Vince was showing people on video screens, and 200 video screens on TV. I thought, well, this is different, and if I was going to promote and run my own show, I wasn't going to come back and I didn't want to be like everybody else. I wanted mine to be different, to look different, and to have a different feel. Because I'm not slamming everybody else, but you've got Vince up here, and he's got his production, and everybody tries to emulate that. When you don't have that, it kind of makes everybody else kind of sort of, to me, and just maybe I'm wrong, but everybody else kind of looks the same to me. And until you find the logo on the deal, or exactly, or you follow it, know who's working there, then you're not really sure what show it is until you find that logo, Yep. And so I wanted mine to be different. I didn't want to have, the same music. And that was another thing. Music is such a big thing, and it works for Vince because their people are all known, whether you're a superstar or not. That's a whole other story where I call people superstars that actually will draw money when you put them on the card. Or if they're a recognizable name that charges a lot, will bring you a great match, and will make it look, your card look like, and you make the guy look like he can compete at the next level. But As far as putting a couple hundred more asses in seats, that's really not going to happen. No. But they're still going to charge that high price, But anyway, once you separate those, I'm just trying to build it with young, hungry kids that are putting in the work every weekend somewhere, because there's 100 different places that are running around the Atlanta area, everywhere. And so, and I tell them, you work for me, I want you to work for everybody, because I want you to be good. I want you, and I want you to build a following in those other towns. That way, when you're on and I'm showing you on my website, where and we're trying right now, we get local TVs, then you've already got a following, a local following, because I'm not looking to go around the world again, but I would love to get the Georgia area and start. I'm concentrating on Atlanta first. And
Nick,
once I get Atlanta rolling, I'm going to try and start spreading, man.
Nick,
yes, sir.
You know what? You're speaking about that, and Mac will tell you this. I tell Mac this all the time. I said, Georgia is wide open. I said, there's nobody here with a decent product that can run Georgia. I said, that's all they need right now is somebody with a decent indie product, good show. I said, Georgia's waiting on it. I tell Mac that all the time. And I'm so glad that you're going in that direction. You're concentrating on that. The kid, Eric Adams, I had a chance to meet him. I know exactly who you're talking about. He's a hard worker. And you're blessed to have him in your presence, man. You got a guy that can do several different things. You're blessed to have that, man.
Yeah, he's the one that taught me into running shows, actually, inside the perimeter, because I grew up outside the perimeter.
Yeah, man.
And most all the shows that I was familiar to working with and doing, running shows inside the perimeter is a whole different feel, a whole different vibe, right. And you promote it in a different way. And the old school way still really works well inside the perimeter, man.
Well, that's what got us there. How can we forget where we come from?
Yeah, you got to have a mix of both. You can't just go all one or the other, man, but you got to have a mix of the both. And you can't just rely on what you put out on the internet to draw people. You got to go out and let them see your face and shake hands and give out a couple of free tickets and get people, you got to create a buzz. And the best way to do that is face to face to me.
Yeah, exactly. And, and a lot of times in the old days where you guys came up, you postered a town. I mean, you did. And to this day, I still say the number one thing you can do for an independent show, poster the town. They all think that now we got social media and we just put it on social media and everybody will see it. No. Put it on every vending machine as you come in and out Walmart or the grocery store, high volume traffic areas. That's where it needs to go. But everybody wants to rely on social media. It's a major mistake. Use the old ways first, then use social media.
You're only going to get the social media people that way. The people that particularly tune in to just to see wrestling. You're only going to get them. You're not going to get the person that's, Dad, I don't really watch WWE. Sometimes my kids like it, but they see your poster there and they see this flashy thing that, and it looks professional and it's decent price, and
the kid can tell Dad, hey, Dad, I want to go. I want to go watch this.
Exactly.
They can't do that if Dad's on his phone because they can't see what Dad's looking at. But if you're walking by that sign, that kid's going to say, I want to go to that. Makes a big difference.
I'm going to tell you what's helped my shows, and it's going to sound funny, but when I did the inside, when we first did my first couple of shows, it was at an old church that had been turned into a big studio, and we had like about 100 seats, but the rest was standing room, and we sold drinking wristbands, and it was a bring your own bottle theme for people and it brought the 20s and 30s crowd in, which we was trying to hit hard, which when you're promoting inside the perimeter, and it's like I'm running a little 5 Points area a lot. And in fact, I was running in a particular building in Little 5 Points, but we kind of had fallen out with them, man. I was going to have my tournament there. And we actually had a big falling out with them. And they changed it and booked it to somebody else on the date that we'd already secured. And so now we had to flip flop, but it turned out cool. Because I don't know if y'all ever seen any of my stuff on social media. We are doing a series of shows with a big restaurant here called Das Barbecue. Yeah, Das Barbecue off Memorial Drive, man. And it is a really cool vibe, man. It's it's got indoor seating where you can see what's going on, and it's got outdoor seating where you can see what's going on. And it's a paid show for us, so it's free for the fans. The wrestling is free. So you can come there and have dude, and I'm not just saying this because they're my sponsor. Their food is rocking, man.
I told Teddy about it. When I saw you posted, I said, Teddy, they had a show just at a barbecue place, and the barbecue looked good.
Dude, man, they hooked me up with their brisket and some Brunswick stew the other day at our show, and because they hook up our guys, and it was so tender. I ate a fork just with a fork, man. The whole brisket, man. It had no knife involved at all. And they got like a bunch of different sauces, and it's got open bar the whole time, man. And we got a couple of beer sponsors there. It's really a cool vibe, and it's got a mix because it's got a place for kids to play too, man. There's cornhole thing. It's got about 8 different things and a tether ball place. Little kids are running and playing and having fun, and the adults are kind of pretty much lining around watching the wrestling and eating and drinking and having a good time, man. Our show is.
Go ahead.
I was going to say our show. We've run 3 there, and it's like every time we do it, it's doubled. And our last one, they went off the charts. They were happy with the last one. So when we started having problems with the building I got a show coming up on September the 9th. That's when I'm doing my big tournament to see who's going to be the new Deep South champion. So we had to find another place to go because we hadn't fallen out with that building, man. And I said, man, let's just do it here. The vibe is, so we talked to the owners, and they were really happy for us to have a tournament there. And I pulled some strings, and he told me he was going to do it and do a favor for me. But Eric Bischoff told me that he would come.
Oh,
and
great.
I've got it lined up for him to be the Grand Marshal. And he's going to present the title to whoever wins the tournament. So he's going to be the Grand Marshal of the Grand Marquis Deep South Wrestling Show. Going to be September the 9th at Das Barbecue in Atlanta, Georgia, on Memorial Drive.
All right, now before we talked all about the current, we never got the chance to talk about the past. So I want to get at least a story because I know Teddy has a story he wants to tell. Teddy, go ahead. I'm not even going to hold you back. Go ahead.
Well, Man,
We have several.
Me and Nick Patrick rode together for over 20 years. And this was a great one. I remember, Nick, I know you remember this. We was out on the West Coast. I think we was in Sacramento. And me and you, we was high as a cat, we was smoking, and this fucking white guy, he cuts us off. He almost crashed into us. Well, I look over at Nick and I saw it piss Nick off, so I just went right to cussing this white guy. I called him everything in the name of the book, man. And after I got through cussing him out, then I looked over at Nick and I said, "Sorry, Nick."
Oh, it was so funny, man. That guy had to really flipped out. He pulled up, and my window was already down, man. We was out in Cali. We had a little smoke going. We tried not to be reeking so bad. And because we're taking a little break in between, we had the music going. This guy just rolls right up on us and goes and looks at Teddy and goes, "Hey, buddy, you cut me off." And man, I saw the veins come out. Have you ever seen Teddy get mad? He got veins come up his neck over his head. The vein popped up, and he started cussing that guy. And at first I looked and I started laughing, right? So this guy had to be just absolutely stupefied by having this one guy cutting a promo on him, was saying it cut with every possible word that you could use. And the other guy sitting there laughing. And we had a pause moment where everything went to where Teddy looked at me and said, "Sorry, Nick." And when he said, "Sorry, Nick," I really busted out laughing, man. I mean, like my stomach was hurting laughing. This guy had to think, man, these guys are on acid or something. I'm getting the hell out of here. I don't know what they thought, but it was so funny. It was a great promo too, man. I couldn't even repeat all of it, but when he stopped he stopped about 3/4 because he resumed the promo after he apologized. But about 3/4 of the way through it, he stopped and went, "Sorry, Nick." But that popped me so hard. Plus, I had a little buzz going anyway, which really made it fun.
Oh, God. Do you remember the first time you met Teddy?
Yes, I do. I was working the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, and Teddy come up to me and introduced himself and his son, Antoine. Antoine was a little boy, and Teddy had worked radio and had done a lot of different things, and he had put together a real nice resume. And he gave it to me, asked me if I knew who I should give it to, or I told him, hell, I'll give it to him myself, because I knew people in the office. I ended up giving it to a guy named Bobby Simmons, and I don't think it did him any good, but I did do it, and and I got to where because I think he started with Crockett's, because that's the first time I saw him actually in the ring. I was wrestling and I blew my knee out. I was working for Watts. I blew my knee out, man. I had to come home. I was sitting there I had big ass knee surgery. My leg was all propped up, and I'm looking at the TV, and there's Teddy ref, and I went, "Oh shit, he made it! Hell yeah!" And that's when I knew that I knew he would, because he kept plugging, and he had a good background, and I thought that they would, I thought it might have helped him there because he had that background in radio, and he had different. And it was like from Birmingham, and we went to Birmingham, one of the towns that we run, and it could have helped him a lot, his connections that he had. But
how did the two of you end up riding together?
Well, I don't really know. The first time we started riding together, we both was reffing, and I think it was in WCW when we first started riding together, because we both found out that we were smokers, and
that's what I figured.
So that kind of drew us together. You'll find the smokers always find each other, man. Even across the world, smokers will find each other, man. They'd fly us into places where we couldn't take nothing, and we'd be like, "Oh crap, man!"
Yep.
And we'd find something when we get there. And sure enough, we had a little method that we'd use, and we were pretty good, man. We found stuff. We found stuff all over the world using our method. It worked really well. And I'm not going to stooge our method off because it's ours. And if you tell the boys, they'll ruin it, man.
They'll do it every time.
Yeah, they will. Don't tell them about a good hotel or a good restaurant or a good deal, because they're going to mess it up for you, man.
You'll go back there one day and they're ready to call the cops on you. And you're like, "Well, what happened? What's wrong?"
They'll tell you about such and such did this. Well, I didn't,
Well, you're with that group.
Yeah, the whole group was gone.
Yeah.
All right, I got to ask you a quick question. This is just a personal question. I know you get tired of answering this question, but I'm going to ask it anyhow. Hogan and Sting in the ring, the count. What were you told before you went out for that count?
When I first got to the building, Eric pulled me aside and told me a straight finish. that it was going to be a straight count, regular count. And, you know, back then I counted a little bit slower than the guys in WWE. Man, those guys, they had them going, pap, 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 like, you know, like their butt was on fire up there, you know. And I was a little faster than the old dramatic days. 1, 2, you know, I was faster than that, you know, but they told me regular count. So I said, okay, because that seemed kind of flat, you know, for a match of that magnitude, you know. So during the course of the day, Hulk comes up to me. He goes, "Hey, brother, about that count. Nice and slow. 1, 2, 3." And I said, okay. Yeah, so I didn't think a lot about it because I was going to do a regular count anyway. Yeah, but I wasn't going to slow it down. You know, but I was going to, you know, I was going to do a normal count like I was told. Well, about an hour later after that, Sting comes up to me and says, "Hey, brother, about that count, rapid fire." So now I'm like, well, shit. I got the franchise here on one side telling me to do one thing, and this other guy is still a franchise too. You know, either one of them could say, "Well, that damn Nick Patrick, I thought I was firing." You know, either one of them could have said that. So I'm like, okay, it's still the finish is the same, but those two variations make that very same finish very, very different.
Yes.
So I looked all day to find Eric, and he had a match on the show. So he had a place of seclusion that I couldn't. And he didn't let. And I guess he told Doug Dillinger, "Hey, don't talk to anybody," you know. And because I asked Doug point blank, "Hey, where's Eric?" "I don't know, man." Like, all right. So I went and I did the match, and I did my regular count, and the announcers and everybody, I guess, was told in a production meeting, and Sting included, and everybody was told that I was going to rapid fire it. But I was pulled aside as soon as I got to the building by the boss and told to regular count it. And regular count is what I did, you know. So
well, at the end of the day, would you prefer that you were never involved in that match, or are you still?
No, I don't mind doing the match. I wished it just would everybody had been on the same page. It hadn't been such a political cluster, you know, because a match of that magnitude. People, I mean, people still talk about it to this day. And I told them this on a podcast with Eric. I said, you know, they talk about it this day, but they talk about it for the wrong damn thing. You know, they could talk about this match the way it was and built on the characters like they talk about, you know, a Macho Man and Steamboat and Flair and Steamboat. You know, it wouldn't have been that type of technical match, but it would have been that type of magnitude, you know. And it's
okay. I got one more question.
It's remembered now for all the wrong reasons, you know.
Teddy, I'm sorry, but I got one more question I got to ask him. And this is because I know you're an old WCW worker. When Sting came to WWE in the WrestleMania moment with Triple H, would you prefer that Sting had gone over in that match, or do you like the way they did the ending?
I knew he wasn't going to go over in that match. They jobbed everybody, and he was the last holdout to get beat, you know. And they did it with class. They got him over. It was, you know, it didn't hurt him. The jobs don't hurt you in this business. Everybody thinks, "Oh, you did a job, it's over." It's how you do it. If you know what the hell you're doing, you can go out there and do a job and walk back to that locker room and be just as over or more so than you was when you got in the ring if you know how to do it and you do it right.
And Nick, I tell people this all the time. Chris Jericho is the master of that. You can beat him all day long. He'll get right back up, get his same heat back, and be more over than he was before you beat him.
Yeah, it's how you set it up and how you execute it, you know, and what you follow it up with. You just says, you know, a job. It's just part of storytelling. You know, I mean, MMA means something, but this is storytelling, and I tell all my kids when I train them, and I mean this, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. When I wrestled, I would rather be known for doing a job in a 5-star match that people talk about throughout history than to have my hand raised in a match that nobody's going to remember what the hell happened in a month. You know what I mean? Just beat me. I'll count the lights. I don't, man, just pay me. It's about getting paid. Yep. It's about telling stories, getting over and getting paid, man. Who can
it's
whoop
having
who.
fun. It's having fun, man. You
making
know,
money, having fun.
We had so much fun, man. It was outstanding. It'll never be like that no more.
Well, guys, this is probably the best place for us to stop today. Nick, we're going to have to get you back on the show. I can tell.
Oh, I'd love to, man. Me and Teddy got a bunch of stories.
Yeah, man. But real quick before we go, remind everybody again about Deep South and where they can find more information.
Oh, you can check us out on our website, deepsouth.com. And if you want to check out some of our matches, what I do is I put out a match, and it's one match is like a 30-minute show. And so I tell all the kids, and I bill it. Every match is a main event at Deep South. So in the live show, you may be on third, but your match is going to be, you're going to have your own week that we spend as a presentation of your match. So you can check us out on YouTube/We Are Deep South. And it's got all the different episodes. And the one that I would really recommend checking out that I think you'll enjoy, it came from that building. I won't say their name because we're not going there anymore. But man, these two kids, I had a retirement match, and I wasn't gonna do it unless I had the right kids to do it with. And I did. I found these two that they put in the work, weekend work out. Their heart is into it, and they dedicate not just to my company. Everywhere they go, you book them, they're going to give you 110% if you are on their card. And every time I've used them, they've done the same. And
what's their name?
Bring Skrilla the Great.
Oh, we know Skrilla. We work with Skrilla.
You know Skrilla?
Yeah.
And another young man named Nauseacism.
I believe. Did he have a different name at one time?
I don't think so. But if you look up, if you find him on his Nauseacism, he is a combination of a Rey Mysterio and Sting. He's smaller, man. He does all the flying like Rey Mysterio, but he strikes and does martial arts and does submission stuff too. And it's like, and he's got unbelievable charisma and fire. And man, we packed it with there, and they have a local following. That's what I try to do. A lot of these kids that put in the work and put it on, and they put in the social media work, not just the ring work and the gym work. It's self-promotion now. You know, when you're working for Vince, they promote you. You know, but if you're not working for Vince, there's other. You know, even if you're working for the smaller companies that you're on TV. You're still doing indies in certain, and that's all self-promotion, man.
Yes, yes.
And if you aren't out there promoting yourself, you aren't drawing squat, especially at this local level. And these kids, from just the people from them social media, we packed it out that night, man. And
that's fantastic.
Everybody was tickled to death, and it's a great thing, and so a thing that we do. I know I'm getting long-winded here, but that building that we're not going to use anymore, and I'm going to find another one that's like it had a marquee out front. And instead of putting Deep South Wrestling on there, I would put the main event of that night on there. So when the kids showed up and their families showed up, the people showed up, there's their name and lights on the marquee in front of this building in downtown Atlanta. And it was an emotional thing, man. There was kids out there posing with their families, get with that in the background, you know, with tears, man. It brought tears to my eyes watching them get tears in their eyes, man. And
our business
brought the work, man.
Yeah, and our business is all about memories and moments, and so you're creating those memories and moments. And like I say, I wish we could go longer, but we're about to get cut off because Zoom has a cutoff time, and they're going to cut us off in 45 seconds. So,
all right, man.
Real quickly,
thank you, guys.
Nick, we appreciate it very much. We'll get you back on the show. We'll talk about some road stories on the next show.
I'd love to, man.
And I'm MacDavis. I'm along with WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long, and this has been Road Trip After Hours. See you next week.
Holla.